Now to the story that we did this week that not only got your attention, but you demanded that we follow up, which is exactly what we're doing this morning. We're talking about the scathing details in this federal lawsuit. Allegations of countless military women getting raped, assaulted, and harassed. The same day the lawsuit was filed, we heard directly from 2 of the 8 servicewomen involved in the lawsuit. Their allegations are powerful and heart-wrenching.
After a year of pretty shocking harassment at 8th and I, it culminated in a gang assault led by a senior officer in my command and his civilian friend. He felt that since I had humiliated him in front of his junior Marines by not obeying his order, that he wanted to humiliate me.
I was ordered to attend a mandatory command-sponsor forced pub crawl. I tried to fight him off. There was a physical altercation. I was knocked unconscious, and that's when the rape occurred.
And a day later, an important development. Congresswoman Jackie Speier, who's with us now, was on the House floor for the 16th time, ripping the military and pushing her bill that would change how rape and assault cases are investigated. Congresswoman, thank you so much for being back with me. We're going to talk more about your bill in just a second, but first, you know these women, you know their stories. It's all too common. What is it you are hearing over and over again?
Well, the most important thing I hear over and over again is that they are victimized a second time. Not only are they raped or sexually assaulted, they then are humiliated, they are forced out of the military, they are treated like they have some kind of behavioral problem, and it is swept under the rug.
Now, your bill, this is what I think is so remarkable about your bill, and I'm going to quote it directly. It would take a rape investigation, an assault investigation, out of the hands of an impartial, or in the hands, rather, of an impartial independent group. Now, that does, I see, include military and civilians, but it would be outside of the victim's chain of command, correct? How do you think, okay, then how do you think that's going to make an impact on the growing number of rapes in the ranks?
Well, it's the most important way that we're going to solve this problem. There are 19,000 sexual assaults or rapes that occur in the military. Those are 2010 figures from the Department of Defense. Only 13% report. And of those 13%, only 8% of them are actually taken to prosecution, and a much smaller number actually convicted. So by taking it out of the chain of command, where there's a gross conflict of interest, the unit commander may be the actual perpetrator, or maybe the friend of the perpetrator, or the unit commander may be the one who's looking for it and sees this as a black mark. By taking it out of the chain of command and giving experts in both investigation and prosecution to review the case, we will then have the kind of arm's length approach to dealing with these situations that will allow the victims to get their day in court.
And Congresswoman, that reminds me of a part that really stood out to me when I interviewed Ariana and Elle this week. Let's take a listen to what they told me about their case, and then I've got a question for you.
It was corroborated that I was routinely called a slut and a whore. It was also, my commanding officer also decided that I had welcomed the harassment because I wore makeup and running shorts.
The process of reporting an assault and a rape is immediately spun upon, well, how do we make the victim the accused, and what will be the subterfuge by which they are dismissed from the Marine Corps?
Now, here's what the Marine Corps said about their stories, that the charges were thoroughly investigated and were unsubstantiated. Instead, both of them were accused of misconduct. How do you see the military's response here?
It is a classic response. It is blame the victim. In the case of Ariana, I mean, she was actually wired, and her assailant actually agreed that he had raped her. And yet, in the end, his prosecution led to him being charged with adultery and with using improper language. I mean, never was he charged with the crime that he committed. So the problem in the military, as I see it, are 3 things, the 3 C's. It is not assessing the act as a crime. It is not changing the culture under which it exists, so they continue to blame the victim. And it is not changing the chain of command, which is really the core of the problem.
You just hit something, the culture. It's disgusting when you read about these allegations and what has been tolerated for years in a variety of these cases. What do you do about the culture? I understand your bill and what you're trying to do about these cases that do come forward, but what about the culture?
Well, the culture has to change, and it has to change from the top down. That means the the Secretary of Defense, Leon Panetta, and all the generals under him have got to take this seriously. And I must tell you that Congress and the DOD have been messing around with this issue for almost a quarter of a century. And we hold hearings and beat our chests and then don't do anything. And I'm not willing to allow that to happen anymore. These victims, both men and women, deserve justice, and they deserve to be protected in a system right now that does not protect them at all.
You've been on the floor fighting this for 16 times. My guess is you'll be on the floor many more times. Congresswoman Jackie Speier, thank you so much.
Thank you.
90 years. That's how long it took this man to share his secret.